Why do you say that, Father? You aren't afraid, are you?
No, but I respect some of the superstitions of others. Often they are founded in fact.
Welcome to the Cosmic Forecast for August of 2019. I'm Krista.
I'm Olivier, and so what do we have in store for this month?
We have a lot of Leo.
I know, tell me about it. Finally, the show is coming up.
It is. Would you like to start us off with your thoughts about that?
Yes, so we live in Cancer, which was all about like home, friendship, and family stuff, and cooking at home and enjoying life with people. Well, bye-bye this, because, Leo is all about yourself, self-centered things, and drama and acting and be representing and showing off, and, if I want to say it nicely. So it's all about being by yourself, but in the presence of others. So you're showing yourself to people. So that's going to be really something interesting. And you wanted to talk about Jupiter, which is the big thing this month.
Well, let's spend a little more time to tell people exactly what is in Leo. We are going to have already the Sun, Venus, Mars. So Mars leaving Cancer is going to make it a little easier to get things done, I would say. And then Mercury joins in the fun on the 11th. So Mercury actually changes signs twice in August, which is kind of interesting. So I wanted to spend a little more time with just the archetype of Leo.
Yes.
It's the first one, according to Demeter George, that is of the interpersonal planets. Like you were saying, it's about getting out there. And it's the first one that does that in the signs. The first four. Now, this is just one theory with the signs. So I like her a lot. I read her a lot.
Yep.
And Leo is definitely associated with the performer. There was some great keywords I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget, because it's one of those things that you think you know and you forget them. And I love the idea of the eternal child with the Leo. And if when we have Leo friends, they can bring a lot of zest and fun and joy to the situation. They really are in touch with that kind of inner child, and they like to show it. It's a masculine sign and it's a fixed sign.
Yes.
So that Leo can be quite, stubborn in a way. And then the keyword, one of the other key phrases was I will. So the idea, I'm going to get something done. Leo, the lion, is always an interesting archetype for me because it has both pluses and minuses. It's used in alchemy. It's associated with pride and ego, as we know, the wounded Leo not getting the attention. Yes. And remember, we all have a Leo. Most of us have something in Leo, whether it's a house or a planet that goes through the Leo house, which is the fifth house. So we can all, and also you can have, if you're an Aquarius, you can also tap into the Leo because it's opposite you. So anything you have that. So I wanted to, because it's going to be such a lot of fire, and we're going from this, Mercury retrograde in Cancer and all the Cancerian, it's going to be quite a shift. And I think it's going to be fun, but it can get out of hand.
Exactly, with Mars especially. And I wanted to say something about the Leo thing, and it reminds me of the Wizard of Oz and the lion looking for his heart. And I think that's really important, that what's about the Leo is really finding yourself and showing it to the world. It's not about introspection. It's more like showing who you are to the world and to yourself, of course, because it's a reflection. But the Wizard of Oz with looking for his heart, and it's a quest. And this month is really about everybody looking for their heart, I think, and showing it to the world. And that's possible.
Yes, I think you can tap in. I think because of all the amount of fire, it's easy even if you're not a fire sign.
Yes.
And you will notice that August has not a lot of water in it. So you're going to want the water probably later. Now everyone's probably going to be tired of the water, and then they're going to say, okay, now we have a lot of fire. But it should really start off with a bang. the other thing I wanted to mention about, there was a really great phrase in Demeter's, George's book. It's Astrology for Yourself. And she says that about fire, the sign, any fire sign, it seeks to realize its identity.
Yes,
Exactly. Similar to what
Yes.
you're saying. So it's, let's say we don't know our natal chart, we don't know when we're born. You can always tap into the energies like intuitively, use them in a meditative way. I think that is a very valid way to work with any astrology. So it's certainly going to be a lot of fun. Parties, of course, will be big during that month. I think anything creative, they'll probably be on the outside. I am concerned in California about literal fires because it is getting to be fire season.
possible.
We're hoping that it won't be like last year, which was really devastating for California.
Yeah. And I want to do a little bit of backtracking. I talked in one of our last shows about the moon and the phases all through the year. And I think for people going through the year with each signs, they should pay attention of in which sign we are. Like for instance, now we're going to be in Leo. So you can benefit from the energy from the sign we are in every month, or half of the month, or a third of the month, and look at what you can learn from this and work on. And finding your identity in August is really important. It started July 23rd or 22nd to be in Leo sign. So it's about finding yourself and showing it to the world, to people around you, and what you want in your life, how you want to present yourself. And it's always like in a big way. It's not about like withdrawing and being by yourself. It's about coming out, I would say, in a way, you see?
Yes, I agree. And with Venus also being in Leo, it makes it quite a social period for people and can be quite romantic.
Exactly.
I think Leo
Yes,
can
right.
be quite displays
Yes.
of romance is common for the
Flowers
Leo,
and things,
flowers.
yes.
And then I think if anyone wants to work on healing issues, you could probably work on things like confidence and your creativity and showing your creativity to someone, even if it's someone
Yes.
just one
Yeah,
person.
exactly. That's how it starts.
Yeah, the performance element.
Yes.
So
And it's always the thing with the Leo. It's always in a big way. It's never like if you go to a restaurant, it's going to be a big restaurant that's very fancy. It's not going to be like a homey, like Cancer, for example. You would go to a family style restaurant. But for Leo, it's more like I like the shine, and the big food, the fancy food, and that's how they like to live their life.
yeah. It's interesting. The Leo is in both the 8th and the 9th house of the U.S. chart. So that adds a kind of interesting dimension. You might see in the news a little bit more scorpionic themes like affairs, or also taxes are part of the 8th house, things coming out.
It's also death and rebirth as well.
Yeah, death and rebirth. So that would be interesting because also I believe, yes, it's true that the North Node of the U.S. chart is in Leo. So that's the direction we're meant to go.
Yeah.
But I think having it in the 8th house kind of makes it, kind of smolders it. It's sort of an odd placement for Leo in a Scorpio house. Makes sense though with all of our secrets.
Exactly.
and also the country does have trouble with ego. I think that's as a whole, we think we're the best country in the world when it's not true. Actually, in a lot of ways, we're not ranked at the highest in certain parts of
well, it's the country that always brings new ideas for the world, like expansion. So it's very expensive country, I think.
Yeah, no, that I think is true. So I think that's a good introduction to the Leo, and it will kind of stabilize out towards the end of the month when we go into Virgo, and we'll talk about that too. But as you're right that the two big events for me personally when I looked at August was Jupiter going direct, and I'll get the exact time. And at the same day, we have Uranus is also going to go retrograde, and I'm trying to find
it's August 11th.
August 11th
in Sag.
And two reasons why I thought it was important was the ascendant of the U.S. chart is right around the same degree. It's about 2 degrees off. So Jupiter's going to go move forward. Sagittarius can also represent things connected to ethics and philosophy, and Jupiter is our ruling planet because it's connected to the ascendant. Because of Sagittarius. So I feel like things can move forward in some of the areas that have been kind of slow, like the Mueller report, right around that time. And in fact, I noticed that the redacted Mueller report came out in April, when about a week after when Jupiter went retrograde. So it was a really cool synchronicity.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that that's going to move some things forward. That was one thing I was
Yeah.
thinking.
Well, how I describe the Jupiter and Sagittarius, I really like it. It's, the bow and arrow he has. So it's about focusing on something and pointing it to the target and throwing it. And since it's going direct, it's really time to focus on something and really like aim to your goal. And since Uranus is going to be going retrograde, that can be like a hit of like once something can happen, like revealing secrets, like you said, and on the target, if you see what I'm talking about. And I was reading about Jupiter going retrograde and in Sagittarius, and it brings a lot of opportunities. Not just one, it can be many, like throwing an arrow to different targets at the same time, and that can be bringing a lot of luck and expansion as well. But if Uranus is going retrograde, that means there's going to be something that's going to be held back as well.
Well, I was. This is the second retrograde for Uranus, and I've been reading in this book by Aaron Sullivan, which is a difficult book for someone like me. It's an advanced book on retrograde, and she was talking about during a Uranus retrograde, sometimes because it's so inward, it can be an incredibly creative period. So she gave an example of a scientist, I forget the name in her book, who did all this deep kind of research that during a retrograde, Uranus retrograde, and then worked off it for 15 years. And, Uranus is so innovative and eccentric and electric. So, it's a little awkward in the sign of Taurus in some ways, but it'll work. It's not in its fall or anything. And so you would look at issues connected to Taurus, which
And
you're
love.
familiar with.
Yeah, I am a Taurus.
So, Taurus loves music.
Senses.
It's yes, it loves
all the senses.
The earth,
Food.
connected to nature, food. So there could be a lot of inspiration in those areas.
It's very slow.
And it's and it's going to be retrograde through the rest of this year, so you'll have plenty of time to kind of dig in with it. I saw sometimes I feel like previews of planetary changes, and it was around the middle of July. We had the strangest news event in Venice. There was a man in a clown suit that was had a prop chainsaw that was being chased by the police from Orange County. He ends up in Venice Beach. It was on, I think, a Saturday. And he ends up in Venice Beach. They get him. He doesn't hurt anyone. But before he stops, he helps this guy bury someone in the sand, like they're playing. And he said, I'll help you, So it's like this wild, eccentric Uranian thing. And I said, that's kind of like how I see it's going to be.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. It was a very big Venice moment. But sometimes you'll see like the planets are kind of coming in and they'll sort of throw out a little archetypal message.
Yeah.
And I got from that maybe anything that looks like initially difficult or dangerous will not be if something starts off like that with Uranus and Taurus. It'll all work out okay.
It's interesting because I have Uranus in Leo on the rising sign. So for me, it might be something like holding back and wait for the surprise to come. And I wanted to say something about Jupiter. It's the retrograde lasts like 4 months, which is not unlike Mercury, which is like over 3 weeks. And since it's going to be direct in this month of August, we might be in for a lot of big surprises. I think, like unexpected.
Yes, I could see that for sure. And I know when they first go retrograde, then they go direct, there's always a little more shifting with any of the planets, supposedly. So
and since it's on the month in the month of August in Leo, and Jupiter is the biggest planet, so it's going to be like big surprises. That's what I'm trying to explain. And I can't wait to see what it's going to be. See, there is one sound effect. People told you.
Jupiter.
Synchronicity.
Exactly.
And there it is.
Jupiter is known by many people. The popular Jupiter is it's a beneficial planet. It's a benefic, and it's lucky and all of that, expansive. But I really like thinking of Jupiter with this key phrase, my search for meaning, truth, and ethical values. I think people forget that Jupiter is a teacher.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's almost like the lucky element is really overly emphasized, because I have Jupiter and Sagittarius in my chart. And I think that really resonated more with me.
Yeah, I think I do too. And Jupiter is the ruler of Sag.
Yes.
Or Sag is the ruler. Yeah, Sag rules Jupiter, so it's in his own house. It's hard to say.
Yes, it's in its own natural sign.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really cool that way. I also thought I just, I like to go back and look at different times when a planet was retrograde. So I did that for Uranus a little bit.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to mention some of the historical things, not so much all of the time periods it was retrograde, but some of the interesting things that happened when Uranus was retrograde in Taurus. And for instance, first of all, it wasn't, I don't think it was during Taurus that it was discovered, but it was discovered, just so people know, March 13th, 1781 by a British astronomer, William Herschel. And so then I looked at, and that was around, of course, the American Revolution. It was towards the end of the American Revolution. Most people know that. So what I did find out was, I thought this was kind of interesting. It was during a Uranus and Taurus retrograde that the Republican Party was founded, February 28, 1854. And Uranus is supposed to make you look at the places that aren't working. It's supposed to, break open, and so that you'll make changes whether you want to or not. And we've all been talking about how the Republican Party really has to change. So I'm hoping that maybe this will help. And then the first elevator was also installed during a period when Uranus was retrograde in Taurus. There was the most significant thing I found was in 1938, nuclear fission was discovered during that.
So it's really creative in a way, and it depends how you do with it. What you do with it.
Yeah, Uranus is also connected to invention.
Yeah.
And it's very creative.
Electronics and things like all the Wi-Fi, I'm sure.
So that was cool. And then this particular Uranus moved into Taurus. It was actually in May 15th, 2018. So what you can do if you want to work with the concept of retrograde, allowing you to go deeper into an issue, you can go back to that period and think, well, there's a seed of something I wanted to do. It was between May 2018 and November 2018 was something I was actually starting or doing that I can go deep into now and be really creative with. So I thought that was a cool idea to use.
That's very interesting.
So it's really a very profound, what I'm learning from the retrograde book is it's a very profound and long process. That's why, because most planets go retrograde 1, 2, 3 times or something, and then they go back over the old ground. And so if you really want to understand the themes of it, you actually have to go back to all these different moments in time and see what's playing out. And then you get some interesting things, actually.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We can use the internet to do this. We didn't have this before.
Exactly.
And that's really a good tool.
Yeah, it doesn't take that long, actually. That you can. I always recommend astro.com because you can get ephemerises from any year practically, and look up when was this happening. And then keeping a journal also helps you to look back at your own process and say, 2 years ago I was thinking this.
Yeah, and change the pattern you're having that's not working.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was those are the main events. That there was a couple sort of other things I was just going to mention in passing. We have, as I said, Mercury changes signs actually twice in August. It goes to Leo on Sunday the 11th at 12:45 p.m., then to Virgo on Thursday 8:29 and very early morning. And as you had mentioned, I think before the show, Mars, Venus, and the Sun, they move into Virgo starting roughly the mid-month. So that's going to settle down that Leo energy, I think.
Yeah, because if they're all in like Leo for a while and suddenly they're moving to I was telling you, it feels like it's a movie that was playing, and after we're gonna clean up all the props and start to think about a different movie.
Yeah.
It's because Mars is all about action and Venus is about love and like senses. So there's something going on for August, and after when it goes into Virgo, they all go into Virgo. That's going to be cleaning up time.
Cleaning up time.
Yes.
So what do you personally think of the sign of Virgo?
Virgo is a. So what I wanted to say about Leo is like Mars. Aries, sorry. Aries is about action and going for what you want, and it's like running and things, fire. Leo is a quiet force, I would say. It has the fire and the strength, looking for your strength, like the Wizard of Oz, the lion in the Wizard of Oz. And this is not working. And so Leo is the quiet force. And when it's going to be going into Virgo, it's going to be about there's a different strength. It's more I don't know how to explain. It's more like you don't move. You have this strength, and you let things come to you. You're more like I would say it's between Cancer and Leo. The Cancer is home, family oriented, and the Leo is about yourself. And it's like a combination of the two. The Virgo sign is it's not the quiet force. It's more I don't know where I'm getting at. But,
well, it does kind of return a little to the home in a different way, because Virgos are kind of renowned for being cleanly. And they like to organize their doors.
Exactly.
And in fact, it's a good time during Virgo period for me to do things like that, because it just seems easier to clean my drawers out. And obviously, there's a lot more to Virgo. It's one of a more esoteric signs, I believe. And they're very good with critical thinking. So I think you'll have time to think about what happened in the Leo period.
That's right.
And go over in your head.
Man, what have I done?
What have I done? Yeah, I think it is possible to be excessive during that Leo's.
Oh, yeah.
Overdo anything. Partying or just socializing, and so Virgo allow you to kind of regroup.
And especially with this one with the Jupiter going direct.
Yes,
that's what I'm trying to say. It's going to be something happening.
Yeah,
for everybody.
That's a lot of movement forward, and
the movies as well. The new ideas coming up, maybe movies that are bringing something new, and the political side of America is going to be doing something special too. I think there's going to be some secrets revealed.
Going back to Leo a bit, now that you bring that up, Leos are associated with the king.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm interested to see what, I feel like there may be some scandals coming out on some of the candidates, or you may also see, because of Leo being the North Node, there may be someone that sort of stands out in the crowd in the news that might be a sort of foreshadow of one of the candidates that might win.
That can be a Sag.
Yeah, it could be. I haven't looked at their
because
charts.
Being hidden for a month in the retrograde, so maybe it's coming out like a.
Yeah, so I think it'd be interesting time to just watch, the candidates and see, these things, like if there's more scandals coming out, is there someone that stands out, really takes that role of leadership even more. I think it might be a foreshadow of what's to come.
Do you know about Biden's signs? Do you know what his sign is?
I don't. I haven't. No. It's so overwhelming because there's so many candidates to look at all the signs. I was going to start maybe when it narrowed down a little. I thought I would.
I'm going to look into it for next time because it's interesting.
Yes, it is very. It's a huge election. It's going to be for many reasons, as we all know. And lastly, I think we should go ahead and mention the full and new moons.
Yes.
Just to throw in a little bit of air, we have the full moon Thursday, August 15th at 5:29 a.m. This is, again, Pacific time. 22 degrees and 24 minutes of Aquarius, the opposite sign to Leo. So, and it will evidently oppose the Sun, Venus, and Mars that day, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing personally.
I know, but I was reading yesterday about it, and I wrote this. It has a strong feeling for emotional freedom. So if the Leo is about showing off your personality to the world, and this one wants to be free, it's going to be something contradictory, I would say. There's something going on there with the freedom. So move away, people. I'm coming, but I'm free.
Yeah. Oh, I like that, actually.
Give me some space. It's going to be...
And the U.S. chart is Aquarian moon.
Oh.
So that's interesting, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I just thought it was kind of funny. It just seems like, let's throw some Aquarius in now. We have all this fire, and then the earth coming. And so I thought that was kind of funny. And then, of course, we have our new moon again at the end of the month on August 30th. And that's going to be in 6 degrees Virgo, 47 minutes at 3:37 a.m. That one, it conjuncts the sun that day and has a ton of aspects for you, all of you that have a little astrology calendars. There's 6 different planets in aspect, and it's too much to go into for the show, but it's worth looking up and saying, well, how do I feel about this different aspect? Because there's a whole bunch in a row. So that kind of starts off, the next month after that, the Virgo new moon.
Yeah, and the new moon, we had 2 new moons in July, and the second one was on 31st, 30th, 31st, depends where you are, in Leo. And I was saying last time that for weekends it was really important because it's a very powerful new moon. It's called the Black Moon, I think I said.
Yeah, that was cool. You found that
Yes.
out. That
And
was really neat.
so it's lasting for the new moon until the next new moon is about a month. And you said it's going to be in Virgo, and so it's going to be time. This is the time when you're going to have to clean up and organize. And I wrote something which is really interesting. It says, accepting imperfections of life, trust life, let it run its own way.
That's beautiful.
So you, after all the Leo commotion, and the movie is going to be over with what's happening with everybody and Mars and Venus and things, it's going to be time to regroup and find your strength by yourself, but not alone. You can still go out and the Virgo sign, that's what I was explaining, and clean up and let things take its course.
Very good. I like that. That's very good advice. So I think we've covered the main themes of a very exciting August, I think.
I can feel it.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, you can almost feel it.
And we had the earthquake in July, and there was something very interesting. Someone sent me a text last week, and I received it two hours later. And I work in a restaurant as well. And in the restaurant, I was doubting this. I said, it's not possible, but I've heard it's possible. And my customers were talking about texting to each other. And the one said to the other one, I received your text 3 hours later. And the other one said, oh, me too. I received your text 2 hours later. And I was thinking about the earthquake that happens like 2 weeks before that. And I think there's something going on with the magnetic field. Electrical magnetic field, and it's changing all the waves and things, and the way and especially with Mercury retrograde that's going on, and it's slowing down things. And there's like I was explaining to somebody yesterday, the wall between the third dimension and the fourth dimension is getting thinner, and it's going to be very chaotic, I think, and it's starting with that, and we're getting more and more with the Wi-Fi. We're using this. We're getting more like specific, and we're learning more about it. So we're going to start to see things like sometimes when I work, I see like colors around people, and I tell them, oh, I see blue here, and they're like, oh, what's wrong with you? And I think people are going to be able to see more things like from the other dimensions.
That's a really fascinating thing. It fits with the whole idea of the
Uranus.
Aquarian and Uranus.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, totally. And it's it's there for like 7 years in the Taurus. So that's very cool. That's a good way to end our forecast.
Yes.
So thank you all for joining us again. We will see you next month, and stay cosmic.
Thank you. Enjoy August.